We all want the best games to be released, right? After all, this is why we work, to get money and to spend every single dime in video games. At least this is what I do. Should I seek for help? Unfortunately, games are extremely expensive to make. Here are some examples if you are not aware of the amount of money that you need to make a video game. At least the big ones. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, one of the most popular The Legend of Zelda games ever, costed $12 million to develop. GTA 5 costed $265 million to develop. And Skyrim, roughly $100 million to develop. Not that all the games are extremely or that expensive to develop, but most of them, in general, are very expensive to produce. And all of this just to say that money doesn't spawn from the matrix whenever someone wants to develop a game. The game designers need to sell their game ideas to the publishers. Or there are some cases in that the publisher hires an internal team to develop that game that they already own the franchise, for example, or any other project that they have in mind. And those publishers are actually the ones who pay for the development of the games. They are the companies who have big bucks and pay for the teams, pay for the designers, the developers, the artists, the musicians, everybody who are needed to develop a video game. They pay everybody. And what are publishers? You guessed it right, probably. They are companies. So whenever they put their millions inside of a project, they want a profit out of it. Otherwise, they are not going to be able to make the next game, therefore their next millions. And there lies the problem. Many publishers don't care about innovation anymore because they already have the formulas of what works and what doesn't work in terms of money, in terms of return, in terms of what you are going to invest your money to buy. They just want to stay in the game of making more and more games, to make more and more money. And these companies normally are so big that they can play very safely. They don't need that one game to skyrocket to make their money. They already made this in the past, most of them at least. So if that company don't feel extremely safe in the return in terms of money that this game is going to give them, they're just not going to invest. And the strategy of these publishers, it's what is leading the video game industry to the chaotic state that it is in right now. Of course, there are some exceptions and some companies care more about the actual game and the player. They don't want to lose money, of course, no company wants this, but they prioritize the actual game and the player. But are companies like this that many? I don't know. And these are the monetization strategies that the companies, the publishers can use in their games to make sure they're going to have their money back from the investment they made. First one is P2P, or pay to play. This is the simplest one. You pay the game, you play the game. You don't need to invest any money, any extra money to go from the beginning to the end of that game. Sometimes when the game does very well, they start working on extra content for that game that they normally charge. Some doesn't, but most of them charge. And these extra content normally are called expansions or DLCs. In my opinion, it's fair. It's extra work, it's extra content. You already finished the game, and in every game that you play without the DLC, you are always going to feel the sensation that the game started, had a development, and ended. The DLC is not something mandatory for you to understand the actual game in the end. But the problem for the company perspective is that only the real fans of that game are going to get the actual DLC or expansion. And this method works for the majority of the games we play nowadays. They develop, they release, you pay, you play, you reach the end of the game, and this is it. They make their money, they take this money, put in their pockets, some part of this they reinvest in new games for us to play. Brilliant, right? You pay not for the games you are playing right now, but to make sure you are going to have new things to entertain and to play in the future. Fair. This is just a cycle, in most cases, of course. Everything that we are going to discuss in this video have their exceptions. Let me know if you find any exception from the top of your mind. Let me know in the comments. The other method they have to monetize their games is through subscriptions. And talking about subscription, why don't you just subscribe right now? I won't charge you anything if you subscribe. It's for free. And you are going to make me very happy. Thank you. In this method, you don't actually own the game. You don't purchase the game. You pay to access that game for a limited time. This is the best way to monetize a game that is in constant development, like an MMORPG, for example, or any other online game that requires continuous server support, or games that requires lots of things to be added to the game constantly to make sure that the older players still playing the game and still paying, and make sure that the game that they are developing and you are playing continues to exist for the longest time possible. Because if you love the game, you don't want to stop playing it, right? In theory, this is one of the best ways to monetize a game, and this solves all the problems in the game developer and publisher end. But in the player end, this creates two problems. First one is that in the long run, the game turns way more expensive than all the pay-to-play games that you would play if you were not paying the monthly fee to play that game. And the second problem is the commitment, because whenever you are paying something monthly, you have to play it. Otherwise, the money that you are investing to play that game is just going to vanish from the matrix. Because even if you are not playing, you are still paying. And this makes us feel stuck to a single game. I'm not sure if this is a good thing, because whenever I personally play a game for too long and I don't play other games at the same time, I start to get a little tired of that game, and sooner or later I will stop playing it. And the games I play the most are the games that just give me the option to play whenever I want without any kind of pressure. This doesn't work very well for multiple reasons. You have to have an extremely popular game to make sure that the subscriptions are going to stay coming, and your game will always relies on the updates that you make. And if you make a bad update in the game, there are big chances of you as a game being over. Not many games could succeed in the long run with a subscription base. For example, WoW, World of Warcraft, was one of the games that succeeded very well in this kind of monetization, but the game was insanely popular. Not all games are able to do that. And the last type of monetization a game can have, these are the standard, okay? There are many other ways to monetize your game, but they are very experimental yet. They're not there yet to make sense to lots and lots of companies to experiment and try those types of monetization. And the third type of monetization that I'm going to discuss in this video is the in-game purchases. And this is where the big problem shows up, at least for the gamers. There are different ways to make money inside of an in-game purchase model. Some are very good, some of them works for all of kinds, some of them are just stealing in our faces. And yes, I'm talking to you, Diablo Immortal. One of the ways that you can make money inside of this kind of monetization is to sell cosmetic items. Cosmetic items are the items that you purchase inside of the game with real money, but it doesn't affect the gameplay. You are not going to have boosts, more power, more speed, more whatever that is important inside of your game. It's just visuals. You are paying for visuals. And multiple times I could say that paying for cosmetics inside of a game is kind of, okay, I had lots of fun with this game. Let me buy something that is flashy for me, but mostly is going to help that company to continue bringing new stuff for this game. Good examples of this is League of Legends and Paladins, that are honestly is the game that I spend the most money on. And it's a free-to-play game. Both of them are free to play. And every single time I buy a skin inside of Paladins, it's just because I want to support a company that currently is known to be going through some rough times in terms of players. They're going away, although I still loving the game. But the cosmetics don't work very well inside of MMORPG, for example, because you are your character. You are not playing as a champion, as a hero. You are playing as yourself. So your appearance inside of that world actually matters. But honestly, for me, it's something that I would be able to give up if it would make a game not pay to win, that we are going to discuss further in this video, and that makes sure that the game keeps going without being shut down. Also, they are not very easy for the companies to create the interest in the players to just basically donate their money in cosmetics. Although you are receiving something back, of course. I consider it a donation. It's my perspective. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments. And the other way to monetize with in-game purchases is to sell items and other stuff inside of the game that are going to make the game easier for you. But in my opinion, absolutely anything inside of a free-to-play game that gives an advantage to the person who's paying is considered pay to win. The more you pay, the more you win. So there is an exception for this, and it is the kind of workarounds that some companies can find. For example, a game that is free to play, but there is just one type of purchase that you can make that you have the same kind of advantage. It turns the game like in a free to play, more free to demo. You are free to play the game as free for the time you want, but it's limited. But as soon as you want to advance in the game, you would be rewarded. If you pay a monthly fee, for example, you would earn a premium account or something like this. One of the games I played the most when I was a child, not really a child, I played this game until like 7-8 years ago. Tibia is was a game like this, because then they started using the shop and they are very, very pay to win nowadays. But honestly, this is the model that I like the most. Everybody can play, everybody can try the game for as much time as they want, but whenever they feel they can invest in the game, they can pay a monthly fee. This is considered by some people to be pay to win, not in my perspective, because for me, pay to win is a game that you can get your character better by investing more and more money. There's no limit about how much money you can put in the game, and this is the problem. The main problem is when those kinds of games have PvP, player versus player, because whenever you are playing the game, investing a lot, investing your time to make sure you are getting better at the game, that you are grinding to make your character more powerful inside of that game. And then someone who only played 1 hour per week for the past 2 months, they just are there occasionally, but they have a lot of money in the real life. They put like 2 or 3 or 400 dollars inside of that game, and just because they have money in real life, this makes they better inside of the game. Their money overcomes your skill inside of the game, and this is what ruins most of the games. Whenever a game that's not pay to win turns pay to win, it's the final breath of that game, because normally they just shut down after a while. This makes these games super frustrating to the people who actually enjoy the game, the people who put all the things aside to play that game. This just destroys the games for them. Guess what? That kind of people who just play occasionally and put some bucks to play better than other people inside of the game, they normally are doing other things in their free time and they don't like the game that much, so they are more likely to stop playing the game too. Don't you agree with me? Does it make any sense? Because it does to me. So normally for me, this is a death sentence to a game. And usually those games are free to play, or should I say free to pay. Like, you are free to pay, but if you don't, you will lose to other players who are richer than you in real life. Doesn't matter how much time you invest on the game, or lose time because of an endless grind. And the main problem is that people are stupid, careless with their money, and like to gamble. So although actual real players hate those kinds of games, the publishers love them, because as rich people are allowed to put as much money as they want inside of the game, these games are normally the most profitable ones. Pay-to-win games are normally frowned upon by the gamer community. So the big gaming companies that need to maintain their reputation, and I'm not looking at you, EA Games, I just gave up a long time ago. Just bring The Sims 5, make it very good, not pay to win, and we can discuss about forgiving you. But these big companies avoid to publish pay to win games because they have to maintain this reputation to sell more of the next games they're going to publish. And they avoid it especially in the consoles and PC. So most of the companies choose to publish pay to win games in mobile. And this is the sad result. The most valuable gaming platform is not the Xbox. It's not PlayStation, Nintendo, and it's not PC. It is mobile. Oh god. So this is our current state. Companies use shady techniques to fool the players to buy endless items in games that gives us a false sense of progression. Because although we progress inside of those games, they are made to trick us that the game actually has an end. But usually they do not. And you can always spend just a little more, because the end of the game is not the end of the story, it's not the end of the character progression, it's the end of your credit card limit. All of this while we are distracted, waiting for good games, not pay to win to come out. While we discuss which one is better, it's PlayStation, it's Nintendo, it's Xbox, it's PC, they're just stealing from us right under our noses, tricking our minds to believe that we have some progression, to believe that's just a small investment, to believe that it's an opportunity to buy something that will just lead us to buy even more, while they mask casinos and lucky games in the shape of an actual real game. But there's a way to stop this. There's a way to free yourself from this madness and to make the gaming companies start making games for the players again and not for the payers only. And the simple way is stop right now to play pay-to-win games. It's like a diet. Whenever you want to lose weight, you just say no to a few kind of foods, right? You have to do the same if you want to train the industry to focus the development forces and the entire development industry to focus on the gamer again. You have to train them. We have to make all we can. We have to put our side of the effort to make sure they understand that this is not okay, that we are done being tricked. And what you can do with the money you would spend in those games, just buy a new console, just buy other good games that's going to show them, okay, the money is in that part, is not in that part. The money is in the pay-to-play games, is in the subscription games, is in the genuine cosmetics where it works games, and not in the pay-to-win games. Because the signing we are sending to them right now is that we love pay-to-win games. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't spend that much money on them. Oh, but I'm having so much fun playing that game. Okay, I get it, but this is just an illusion. You are being tricked while they swim in their $100 bills pool. This is all for today, and you are better subscribe to this channel and punch the like button in the face, otherwise all your favorite games are going to become pay to win. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this subject and if you want me to create more videos about the gaming industry monetization. Thank you so much for watching, and if you really want to see me happy, just click in this video. I don't know in which side it will appear, but I think it's right there. If it's not, I'm pointing there and the video is going to be there. And click in this video that YouTube is suggesting for you, the algorithm is suggesting, because you probably are going to enjoy it too. See you in the next one.